Hello guys, welcome back to another election prediction video. This time we're going to be doing incumbent Senator of Vermont Bernie Sanders up against former President Donald Trump. Now Bernie would be a decent Democratic candidate. He's definitely an upgrade over Pete Buttigieg and Kamala Harris. And he's probably definitely better than Gavin Newsom, I would say. But he's just slightly a little bit worse than Biden because Biden does have the incumbency advantage. And he does have a little bit better appeal among moderate voters, but that's about it. Bernie would probably do a slightly better than Biden would in the Rust Belt, which is one pro to a candidacy of his. But let's get started. So we're going to start with Colorado. Obviously, this would be a safe Democratic state. It's a very progressive state. Democrats typically win it by a landslide nowadays, so it should be easy for Bernie to win. New Mexico, again, Bernie did better with Latinos in the primary than Biden did, so I do think Bernie could do better with Latinos in the western states. Definitely not in Florida with Latinos, because there's a lot of Cubans down there, and they really do not like Bernie Sanders because he calls himself a socialist. That really wouldn't fly that well down in Florida. But in New Mexico's Latinos, I think he could appeal pretty well with, and some a little bit with Texas Latinos too. I think he could do decent. But the thing with Texas is the white moderate voters that backed Biden, if it's a scenario between Trump and Sanders, they would probably go slightly towards Trump over Bernie. So he still loses Texas by about the same margin Biden did. And Alaska would also be a safe Republican state. Bernie really wouldn't have a shot to win here. Let's head on to the southern states. We'll start off with Florida. It would just be a safe red state. It won't even be a swing state. I don't think Bernie would even seriously contest this state. He knows that progressives never win in Florida. It just never happens anymore, so it's a lost cause. He really wouldn't campaign here, nor should he. He would still lose the state by over 10. Trump probably wins it by 12 to 15 points against Bernie Sanders. Probably carries Miami-Dade along with it, too. Okay, North Carolina and Georgia. North Carolina, I'm going to be rating as lean Republican, while Georgia, I'm going to rate as tilt Republican. Again, progressivism really doesn't work in either of these two states, so I just don't think Bernie will be able to win them. In the last prediction I did, I actually gave Bernie Georgia, but kind of changed my thinking. I do think the suburbs or just urban turnout, especially with African Americans, might go slightly down with Bernie as the nominee. Depends on who he picks as VP to energize that turnout, though. He could fix that. But for now, it's just a tilt Trump state. Okay, in Iowa and Ohio, again, Iowa, it's just drifting more and more away towards Democrats. Trump only wins the state here against Bernie by 6. It's almost a lean state, but then again, it's just the trends here in Iowa just are against Democrats. However, a state like Ohio, Bernie could definitely get it down to lean, and I do think he would be able to. Trump would only capture the state by about 4 points instead of 8. So there's one state I think Bernie could massively improve upon against Biden here. He definitely would do better in Ohio than Biden. In the New England area, Maine and Maine's 1st district, and New Hampshire would just be safe Democratic states. Trump wouldn't have a chance here against Bernie, who has extremely strong New England appeal. Even Maine's 2nd would go to Bernie Sanders, in my opinion. I think he would appeal very strongly in this district and be able to carry it against Trump. Okay. In Virginia now, I think it'd still be a likely Dem state. Bernie would capture the state by about 6 points. Almost a lean state, but I still think most Democrats would come out in support of Bernie Sanders, but there will be some drop-off in moderate voters, either not voting or voting for Trump. In Nebraska 2nd, it'll be a reduced margin from a likely win. It goes down to lean because, again, progressives really don't do the best Nebraska 2nd, but he is running against Trump, who's very unpopular in this district. Okay. In the Rust Belt, Bernie would do extremely well in the states of Minnesota and Michigan, each winning them by likely margins. We saw how our progressive, like Fetterman in Pennsylvania, he won by 5 points against Dr. Oz. So progressivism in the Rust Belt states, that really does well. Being left-wing in economics, that gets you a win. So I do think he'd be able to improve upon Biden's margin in Michigan. And in Pennsylvania, he would probably do a 1 point better or 2 points better than Biden. Probably wins it by about 2 to 3 points against Donald Trump, and improves a point or two in Wisconsin as well. Bernie is a very populist, and he's more populist than Biden, so I just think he would expand upon Biden's margins here. thus winning him the election. But we have 2 more states left. In the state of Nevada, again, I think Bernie would do better than Biden with the Latinos in this state. Probably wins Nevada by about 2 to 3 points against Trump. And the state of Arizona, honestly, at this point, Arizona's like a Dem-leaning state. I mean, it has 2 Democratic senators, a Democratic governor. Democrats keep winning this swing state over and over and over again. So even with someone who calls himself a socialist in a moderate state like Arizona, I still think you'd be able to get a narrow victory over Donald Trump just because of their hatred of Trump. They still wouldn't vote for him, and he really wouldn't have a chance in a state like Arizona. It's just trending away from Republicans every election at this point. So that's my election prediction. Bernie Sanders beats Trump narrowly. He almost improves upon Biden's margin. States like the Rust Belt, Wisconsin, Michigan, PA, Ohio. Still loses Iowa by a good bit, but overall, Bernie would do pretty well against Trump. Much safer victory with states like Wisconsin going to him by a lean margin instead of tilt margin. But overall, this is my prediction. Let me know if you think this in the comments below, and I'll see you guys in the next one.